Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Mel and today is my 24 in 2024 TBR. In some ways this was really hard to make, like I was struggling to find things to put on this TBR, but in other ways I had way too many things to choose from and I needed this to be like 30 and 30 or something like that because there are so many things that I want to read in 2024, so many new things that are coming out in 2024, and I'm just excited for a new year and a new reading year. I've broken this down into 3 sections, and each section kind of within its own subsection. The primary things you're going to see me read and review on my channel are going to be fantasy, romantasy, and horror. Those are the genres that I read the most of. I will occasionally slide in a thriller here or there, but for the most part, that is what you can expect to see on my channel in 2024. So I want to start some new series, I want to read some new releases, but I also really want to continue with some series and read some backlist books as well. So I try to put a good mix of all of that into this list. So I think we're going to start with the fantasy books. The first one that I want to talk to you guys about is Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mahatme. I think I'm saying that right. This is a Egyptian? I don't know exactly what this is inspired by. I want to say it's Egyptian, but I could be wrong on that. But it is a non-Western setting, high epic fantasy series that I have just really been anticipating and wanting to pick up this year, but it actually doesn't come out in the US until January, even though obviously I do have a copy of it. I got this one from Broken Binding, so I've just been kind of waiting to read it with everyone. And I will be quite honest with you guys, the blurb doesn't help me a whole lot with what this book is about. It sounds very complicated. I have read the first chapter of this, or the prologue, and it did kind of throw me for a loop a little bit, but also got me really excited to read this. I'm going to read you guys the just like little thing on the back because I think it sums it up better than I can. It says, "The sun will set, the world will kneel, the stars will bleed, and the shadows dance to a prophecy foretold. A tale of war and ruin, a ballad inked in blood." It sounds really good. I'm so excited to finally pick this up because I've had it for 3 or 4 months now and it's got to go on the 24 in 2024 TBR. Next up for fantasy that I already own is Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. This one has been sitting on my TBR for I don't even know how long at this point. I just got a physical copy of it this year, but it's been on my radar for quite some time. This book scares the ever-living snot out of me, to be completely honest. Not only is it a thick chunky boy, but I've heard his writing style is a little bit more dry, and so many people absolutely adore this series that it scares me. This is a story about friends and family, intricate politics, and a revolution that is going to bring the world to its knees. You know that I love a revolution story, so this obviously has been high on my radar, but I just need that final kick, that final push to get me to read this, and I think putting it on this list may be exactly what I need. Next up is one that I don't feel like I really need the push to read because I am so excited for this author, but that is 1,000 Names by Django Wexler. I read the entire Ashes of the Sun, I think it's Burning Bladed Silver Eye series last year and adored it. So I'm so excited to pick up his adult series. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I believe this is Flintlock fantasy, which I have not had a lot of success with in the past, but if anybody's going to make me love it, I think it's Django Wexler. This is a military fantasy following 2 soldiers' lives that are uprooted at the end of a revolution and how they're going to kind of survive this post-war. But I don't think the war is over, and not only are they going to have to navigate post-war, but I think they're going to have to navigate more war as well. I could be way off base on that one, but that's just kind of the vibes I get from the synopsis. I have read the first chapter of this one as well, and it was incredible. It was so much fun. There was like eyeball licking, I don't know, but I'm here for it, and so I had to put this on my 24 in 2024. Next up for another one that I physically own is Emperor's Blades by Brian Stavley. I've been meaning to read this all year this year, honestly, but I just don't think that I'm going to quite get to it. So I'm going to be putting it on this list to make sure that I get the kick that I need to finally start this series. This is following 3 siblings who wake up one day to learn that their father, the Emperor, has been murdered, and how they are going to navigate who is going to take the throne next, all of the politics and turmoil that ends up uprooting their lives, and are they going to have to go on the run out of fear for their own lives. From what I know about this, it has a really cool magic system, it has some really good character work, and I cannot wait to finally pick this up. Next up for ones that I actually already own is The Darkness Before Them by Matthew Ward. This is the first in his new series. I probably should have read Legacy of Ash before reading this one, but I don't know, there's just something about this cover. It's just so cool, and it's new and it's shiny, and so I think I'm going to pick it up first. This is yet another rebellion type story, but this one is following Kat, who is a talented thief and I believe a heist, and I love heist, I love rebellions. This sounds so good. There are spirits that hold vigil over every vault in the kingdom, so it's going to make it a lot harder for her to steal what she needs to steal, but she has a special gift. She is able to talk to these spirits, and she's going to need every advantage that she can get. It sounds like so much fun. I cannot wait to pick this up. It had to go on this list. Another one that I own and really need to get to this year, like I don't know how I haven't gotten to this yet because I keep talking about how excited I am about it and just haven't picked it up yet. And that is No Heart for a Thief by James Doohan. This is a self-published fantasy that I've had my eyes on for forever. I've heard so many incredible things about this book, and I don't know why I haven't picked it up yet, but I'm gonna rectify that next year. This book I think is really hard to describe. I like the tagline that says, "We are the stories we tell ourselves, even the lies." I believe this has like a song-based type of magic. There is a thief that steals people's magic, and it just sounds so good from what I've heard about it. Plus that cover is absolutely incredible, so cannot wait to pick this up. Another self-published fantasy that I want to put on this list is Curse of the Fallen by H.C. Newell. This is one that I actually didn't have on my radar until I read their story In the Advent of Winter, which is a short story collection that was put together by Dom from Domish Books. And I really liked the writing in that short story and wanted to read more from this author, so I thought what better way to push me to pick that up than to put one of their books on my 24 in 2024. This book is about a child that is not the chosen one. She is a demon to be destroyed. We have a young girl that is forced into hiding, and her quest for survival might also be a quest for revenge. I've heard, again, a ton of good things about this series. I liked the brutality and kind of the fact that she didn't shy away from that in her short story, so I'm really excited to see where they can go with a full-length story. Next on my list, I have The Bloodstones by Tori Tekken. This is also a self-published fantasy that I have really been anticipating this year. I absolutely love the cover, and I just need to know more about this wolf mask man. It looks amazing. I had not read anything by Tori until, again, The Advent of Winter. I think that that was a really good way to like test out some authors' writing, and I really enjoyed it and definitely want to read more from her. And it's about a man who is executed and his name is ripped away from history. There is, again, a war of succession, and a man that witnesses the execution and is not supposed to know the things that they know. And so what are they going to do to kind of get away from this? It says someday history will remember them as legends. Sounds really good, sounds very interesting. Some of the early reviews that I've seen for this have been really, really good. So I figured I would put it on this list to make sure that I pick it up in 2024. Next up, for some of the books that are going to be coming out next year that I am highly anticipating, I'm going to be cheating just a little bit on this because it is kind of, I'm putting on one book, but this one book basically is 3 books, and that is the God Eater Saga by Rob J. Hayes. So if you guys know anything about this project that Rob J. Hayes is going to be doing next year, he is going to be releasing the first book in a trilogy of trilogies for every single one. And you kind of read the first books in tandem, then he'll release the second books in tandem, and then the third books in tandem. So you have like your main story, and then you have a prequel, and then something set 1,000 years in the future. And it just sounds like a really interesting reading experience. The War Eternals is one of my favorite series of all time, so I cannot wait to pick up something new by Rob J. Hayes. He always knocks it out of the park with his characters and his magic systems, and I am thrilled that there's something new for me to devour in 2024. I don't even know a whole lot about this series other than I'm desperate to read it, and that's all I really need to know. Then I have one that's not going to be coming out until May, and that's The Fireborn Blade by Charlotte Bond. This cover instantly drew me in. It just looks so cool. We have a dragon, we have a badass female on the front, and the tagline for this one says, "Kill the dragon, find the blade, reclaim her honor. It's that or end up like the countless knights before her as a puddle of gore and molten armor." That sounds so cool. I love a badass female main character. Obviously, I love dragons. It just sounds so incredible, and I knew that it needed to go on this list. So I only have 2 sequels that I'm going to be putting on this list. There will be a separate list coming of my priority series for 2024. So I didn't want to put as many sequels on this list because I'm going to have a whole separate list of sequels. But the first one is The Mark of the Damned by C.D. McKenna. This is the second book in the Varillion saga. I read the first book, Blood of the Lion, this year for SPFBO, and it was my semi-finalist. I had a lot of fun with it, and I think that C.D. McKenna's writing is only going to continue to grow and improve. The first book was very much a setup book. We were following 3 main characters: a girl that has powers that she didn't even know she had, a dragon rider, and a reluctant king. And I liked the politics and the setup that we had in this book. It's definitely going to expand a big plot line and a big world, and I'm excited to see what she can do in the second book in the series. The second series that I want to put on this list is The Book That Broke the World by Mark Lawrence. This one does not have a cover yet. It is the sequel to The Book That Wouldn't Burn. I liked this book quite a lot last year. The pacing for me was not my absolute favorite in this one, but I thought the concept was so cool, and we definitely expanded the scope a lot in the second half of this book. And so I think that I'm going to really enjoy the sequel. This is set in a world where there is a library that holds all of the information for the entire kingdom. And we have a young apprentice that is learning to become a librarian, but we also have a man that has a very special relationship with the library, shall I say. I don't really want to tell you any more than that so that it is not a spoiler, but thoroughly enjoyed this book and I'm excited to continue on with the series next year. So I had quite a few fantasy, but I think those are all of the fantasy books for 2024. Let's move on to the romantasy. I think a little birdie told me that a few of these are going to be coming to my house in the near-ish future, but I have not done my unboxing for Christmas yet, so I think that they're in that pile over there, but I can't pull them out to show you guys. So I am going to be including some of these in my books that I own because I will be owning them. The first one though I actually do own and I've had for quite some time, and that is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This is one that I've heard so much about this year. I think it's because the sequel came out this year and it is a duology, but it was on my radar, but not on my radar until this year when so many people were talking about it. So I just knew that I needed to put it on this list, give me that final push to finally pick this one up. This has one of my favorite tropes of all time in it. It has a nightmare or a beast that lives inside of a person, like an internal voice. Normally that is a huge spoiler, but it actually is on the back of this book, so I think I can tell you that. I love that trope. I believe that this is a romantasy because she meets a mysterious highwayman on the forest road and her life takes a drastic turn. The tagline says, "Elizabeth needs a monster. The monster might be her. A maiden must unleash the monster within to save her kingdom in this dark, lush gothic fantasy debut." So very excited to finally pick this up. Like I said, I've had it for well over a year since the first book came out. It is time that I give it a go. Next up is one that has a cover that I love and people are talking about it and I'm easily influenced, I will just admit, and that is Blood and Steel by Helen. I don't know how you say that last name. Tell me how you say her last name. But this is a forbidden lovers romance, I believe, about a woman that decides that she is going to pick up a blade even though women are forbidden to do so, and her mentor that is off limits and doesn't really like her very much. She wants to become a champion of Thesmar and she's going to be taking the trial to finally be initiated. I love trials, I love a forbidden romance, a tortured hero, and a badass female. This just has so many things that sound so good. I cannot wait to pick this up. Next up is A Court of Blood and Bindings by Lizette Marshall. This is a book that I've seen popping up mostly on Bookstagram. I haven't seen as many YouTubers talk about this, but it's definitely been on my radar. I've seen this recommended as fantasy romance for fans of Brandon Sanderson style magic systems. I want to say it's got color magic, but it sounds good. It's about the silent death because he kills without a sound and leaves no one able to speak in his wake. This is a fae story, which are sometimes hit or miss for me. It sounds really good. I have heard a lot of people recommend it, so I'm excited to pick it up next year. Next up, we have a bodyguard romance, and I believe that Sarah M. Crate is going to be at a Polycon, so this definitely needs to go on the first half of the year 2024 list. And this is The Claw and the Crown by Sarah M. McCrate. I believe that it was Maria that maybe mentioned this one to me, got it on my radar. It is enemies to lovers, and you guys know that that is one of my favorite tropes to read about in romantasy. It says, freedom is her desire, vengeance is his price. And it is about a young royal whose loyalty is torn between a prince she was sold to and the temptress knight determined to ruin her. Is there a love triangle here? I'm here for a love triangle. It sounds really good. So this is definitely going on the list. Next up, we have a couple of romantasy sequels that I need to be getting to. The first one is The Hemlock Queen by Hannah Whitten. I read Foxglove King this year. It took me by complete surprise, and I cannot wait to finally pick up the sequel. It's going to be coming out at the beginning of April next year, and it cannot come soon enough. This is following Lore, who has the ability to manipulate Mortem. And Mortem is basically the death magic that kind of has a blanket on the land. She is one day invited to the royal court where the king is asking her to spy on his son because he believes that his son is conspiring with the enemy to create more war and turmoil. There is politics, there is manipulations, there is a love triangle, there is death magic. I had so much fun with it and I cannot wait to pick up the sequel and see what happens next. Next up, we have The Promise of Peridot by Kate Golden. This is the sequel to Dawn of Onyx that I read earlier this year and really enjoyed. It's following our main character who fears that her brother is dead. She's just trying to take care of her family and hide her healing magic. When one day he stumbles upon their doorstep with the Dawn of Onyx on his heels, and they finally make it out, but she gets left behind and taken to the Dawn of Onyx, where she is now the captive of the ruthless king. I enjoyed this one quite a lot. I found it to have some unique premises. I like the banter in it, and I'm excited to read the sequel. This was a self-published book that has actually been picked up by Bloom, so I'm excited to see what that means for the rest of the story. Next up is one I don't own yet but do plan to pick up very soon, and that is Blood Sanctuary, which is the third book in the Blood Price, I believe, Blood Grace series. This is a court type romance that has Hespertine, which are basically vampires, but a really unique and fun take on vampires, and I just love the relationship between the two characters in here. It's very slow, very methodical, very political, and has none of my buzzwords, yet it's so well written that I love every second of it. And so I definitely need to continue into this series in 2024. And last but not least, for the romantasy series that I need to continue, the Air Awakened series by Elise Kova. This is Water's Wrath, which is the third book in the series. This is what I'm up to so far. I honestly have so much fun with this series. It is a young adult, it is elemental magic, and not really enemies to lovers, but definitely some really good banter in here. We do have politics, we do have a war in the background, and I just find that all of those elements work really well for me, especially since they're so short and bingeable. It's just, they're a lot of fun, and I definitely need to continue on in this series. It's following Vala, who is the last air mage, except for she doesn't want to be an air mage. She just wants to be able to live her life and be a librarian, a scribe, but unfortunately, the world has other plans for her. I really like the relationship in here. I love some of the friendships that we have, and I cannot wait to finally continue this. And last but not least, we have horror. Horror is a genre that I really picked up reading more of this year, and I'm excited to continue to read more of it in 2024. I do love a good horror, but I'm still trying to figure out exactly what my taste is. So if you have any recommendations for me, as always, leave them down in the comments below. I would love to hear it. This one is not really going to be as first in a series and continuation of series, because there's not really series continuations in horror. They're more of standalones for the most part. So we're gonna go with new releases and backlist. And the book that I own that I need to read, that I really want to put on this list, is Where He Can't Find You by Darcy Coates. This is the newest release of hers this year. It came out in November, and it is her first quote-unquote YA book, and it is about the Stitcher. And I'll just read you the back because honestly, it's so creepy and so good. It says, "Don't walk alone, or the Stitcher will find you. Don't stay out late, or the Stitcher will take you. Don't close your eyes, or the Stitcher will remake you." What? Sounds so good, so creepy. Honestly, I tend to love a good YA horror because it focuses on the creep elements, not necessarily all of the like adult drama that goes on in the background. Cannot wait to pick this up. I am so excited for it. You guys know that I absolutely adore Darcy Coates, so absolutely going on the list. And for the new releases, we have Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This is going to be his 2024 release. Shockingly, I think it actually has a male protagonist, which you don't see a lot for Riley Sager's books. And it's about two young boys, I believe, that are camping in their backyard when one of them goes missing, and then we flash forward 30 years later where this guy has come back to his town and things are eerily reminding him of his friend that went missing. Riley Sager and I definitely have a love-hate relationship with one another. I tend to really like his books, but there have been some really bad misses in the last couple of years, so fingers crossed that this is the year that I re-love a Riley Sager. But I'm gonna keep reading his books regardless because that's just who I am. Next up, we have Heads Will Roll by Josh Winning. This is about a summer camp, I believe, for adults, where basically if you are a celebrity or an adult that needs to get away from something that you have recently done, they send you to this camp, but then one day someone jumps out of Willow's closet, I believe, and then people start literally dying. Heads are rolling. And I don't know, I liked Josh Winning's Burn the Negative. It wasn't what I expected, but the premise was really, really good, so I'm excited to try more of his stuff, and I thought what better way to do that than to put it on this list. The final book for this list is going to be Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes. This is a sci-fi horror. I read Dead Silence last year, had a lot of fun with it, and I'm excited to be picking up more from this author. I love sci-fi horror. It's one of my favorite subgenres of horror, especially when it's done well, and this one sounds really good. It's about a crew that has to survive on an ancient abandoned planet. We have a psychologist that has declared her life to studying ERS, which is a space-based condition that resulted in the brutal murders of 29 people. And their pilot is discovered gruesomely murdered. Is her worst nightmare starting to come true? She's terrified that history is going to repeat itself, and she and the crew must work together to figure out what's happening. And the crew isn't the only one keeping secrets. It just sounds like a very claustrophobic type story, and I just love that kind of horror. Okay guys, there you have it. Those are the 24 books that I am desperate to read in 2024. I will link my Amazon storefront down in the description box for you guys if you want to check it out. It will have all of the books that are on this list linked there. I do receive a small commission if you guys choose to click and buy anything off of that link, just FYI, but I felt like that was a good place for you to be able to see all of the books that I was talking about. Please let me know down in the comments below one of the books that you are the most excited for your 24 in 2024 list. And if you just want to let me know that you were here, leave me an axe emoji for the heads will roll. As always, links to my Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads are all linked down in the description box below. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!